Basketball was my vehicle, but people were my purpose. We're going to be talking about leading from the heart, champion builders, and people who impact and inspire and influence others. They ignite the champion from within because they lead from the heart. And I'm going over chapters out of my new book, so you're telling me there's a chance. I mean, all we can ask for in life sometimes is a chance. What we do with that opportunity is up to us. Have we put in the time, put in the preparation to be prepared, to be competent, to be skilled and ready to fulfill that calling or that opportunity on our life? And, leaders lead from the heart. Coach Pat Summitt in 1974 was a 22-year-old fresh from UT Martin. She took the reins of the Tennessee Lady Volunteers basketball team, inheriting a program with no budget and a gym floor that doubled as a dorm. She didn't just coach, she ignited a dynasty with 1,098 wins and 8 NCAA titles by 2012, the most victories in NCAA history at her retirement. We're talking about Coach Summitt, legend. And her vision went beyond X's and O's. She tailored her style to her players' souls. Early on, she mentored stars like Candace Parker with a coaching approach, pulling her aside in 2005 to say, "I see your potential, now show it." A moment Parker recalled in a 2016 Sports Illustrated interview that spurred her to 2 NCAA crowns. When Alzheimer's struck in 2011 at the age of 59, Coach Summitt shifted. She shifted to servant leadership, openly telling her team, "I've got this fight, but we're still in this together." As quoted in Sum It Up, that vulnerability fueled their 2012 SEC title run, her 8th, proving that passion adapts even in pain. She said, quote, "I love these girls like my own," end quote, she told ESPN. A heart-first ethos that turned orange jerseys into a sisterhood. We're talking about Coach Pat Summitt, the legend. She led from the heart, and that's what great leaders do. Again, Coach Summitt is a legendary women's basketball coach, but she taught so many great leadership principles that were on the court, but they translated off the court to pouring her DNA, her heart, her soul into her girls. And her fire didn't just win games, it changed lives. And that's what champion leaders do. Champions change lives and inspire others to become their best. And so it says she poured herself out, blending discipline with devotion, unlike laissez-faire coaches who coast. Her practices were brutal, 3-hour drills, no excuses, but her office door stayed open for tearful talks, like when she told a homesick freshman, quote, "You're tougher than you know," end quote. That line from player Chamique Holdsclaw in 2012, that quote was something that Chamique remembers vividly. You're tougher than you know. See, champion leaders, they have the ability and the blend to demand, to be demanding but not demeaning, to point others to, this is the standard, this is where we're headed. And now I'm going to love you all. I see greatness inside of you, and I'm going to love you up to that standard. You're tougher than you know. What are you going through tonight? You may be going through maybe it's a great season of life. Give thanks. Stay humble. Be grateful. Maybe you're going through some tough times, right? And that's where you need a coach, a mentor, a friend who can help lock arms with you and walk through whatever it is you're going through and say, hey, keep believing, keep fighting, keep showing up every day, give your best, keep the faith. You're tougher than you know. Great words from Coach Summitt. By 2016, when she died at the age of 64, dozens of her 161 players had become coaches, CEOs, and moms. Parker led the WNBA. Holzclaw coached youth, and Tamika Catchings built a foundation, all crediting Coach Summit's belief in them. Y'all, championship leaders believe. The power of belief can move mountains. And when I'm talking about champions, I'm not just talking about coaches. I'm not just talking about athletes. You're a champion. If you're a dad, if you're a mom, if you're a husband, if you're a wife, if you're a grandparent, if you're a business owner, if you're a teenager, if you're part of an athletic organization, if you're studying how to play an instrument, if you're an artist, if you're in the construction industry, if you're a plumber, an electrician, if you're studying and you're getting your master's degree, if you're going to law school, if you're working at a daycare, you're a champion because you are around other people and you are inspiring and impacting lives. That's what champions do. And if you're discouraged tonight, take heart. You're tougher than you know. You're tougher than you know. And so Coach Summit said, it says here in my new book, so you're telling me there's a chance. Her final season was no coast into retirement. She was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2011. She coached through memory lapses, leaning on assistants, but rallying her team to a 27-9 record with an SEC crown. Sum It Up, her book, captures her exhausted triumph. Quote, "I gave everything I had," end quote. How about you? Do you show up every day, whether you're battling sickness, whether you're battling discouragement, whether you're battling relationship struggles, whether you're battling parenting issues, or maybe you're a coach out there and your team isn't reaching their potential? Discouragement is real. Fatigue is real. Sometimes we need to step back. We need to recalibrate. We need to get a press box view and see how things are going. We need to rest. Sometimes we need to get out of toxic situations. But I would encourage you to pause, pray, get wise counsel before you make big decisions. But it says here, Coach Summit said, "I gave everything I had." Wherever you find yourself in life, I want to challenge you tonight to do that one thing. Whatever you do it with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. Give everything you have, because I believe that truly matters. And even though we sometimes don't feel like we're making a difference, I believe the energy that we project and give and receive, you know when you're around someone who's giving their all, giving their best. It says here that she evolved from a fiery general to a wise guide, showing that great leaders don't cling to control. They adapt with grace when the moment demands more heart than muscle. Great leaders, champion builders, okay? They lead from the heart. And that's what we're talking about. My name's Stephen Greek. I'm a 4-time state champion, Texas high school football coach. I've had some amazing mentors, coaches, players, and teams who have they bought into the vision, the mission of where we wanted to go. They put in the work. They followed the process. They showed up every day and gave their best, and some special things happened. But I also want to say this. I've had some amazing teams that didn't win a whole lot of games. I'm going to say that again. I've had some phenomenal players and teams that just fell a little bit short in that win-loss column. You say, how can that be? You know, Bill Walsh was Super Bowl champion for the San Francisco 49ers, the innovator of what is called the West Coast offense, the modern day passing game. And he was quoted as saying in one of his books, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but someone asked him what his best season coaching was. And they were expecting him to say, well, you know, the year we made the playoffs and won 2 or 3 playoff games, the year we won the Super Bowl. And he said, there was a certain team that he had that won a couple of 2 or 3 games, and he leaned into the press conference and he said, "I'm still trying to figure out how we even won a single game." He said, "We coached our tails off." So, you know, sometimes I think we are guilty as coaches, leaders, CEOs, business owners, parents. I think we are guilty of, we're so outcome driven, production and productivity driven, that we sometimes miss the growth and the good things that are happening if we fall a little bit short of the goal or the mark. And I understand metrics. I understand bottom lines. I understand we want to win. We want to come in first place. We want to do all those things that champions do. But there is something to be said when these Super Bowl champions and these state title champions and these people who win in life and in business and in family and in marriage and in parenting, when they start to say, wait, step back for just a second. It's not always transactional. We talk about this in the book. In fact, in this chapter, we get into the various types of leadership. I'm not going to go into that today, but transformational leadership is where it's at. And Coach Summitt modeled transformational leadership because she led from the heart. And I believe great leaders lead from the heart. Again, Coach Summitt said, I gave everything I had. Her passion was not a tactic. It was her pulse. She gave all she had to transform a roster into a legacy. Coach Summitt's story is a call for each of us to lead authentically from the heart. She could have dialed it in, resting on her laurels, but she chose to adapt, shifting from a drill sergeant to a servant, even as Alzheimer's dimmed her mind, yet never her will. Quote, basketball was my vehicle, but people were my purpose. End quote. What is your purpose? Who is your purpose? Is your purpose tied up in material things? A house, a car, a bank account, another digit, another zero in the bank account. Those are amazing things and blessings and goals to go after. But is your identity, your purpose, who you are, wrapped up in those things that we might call success or the American dream or materialism? Is your success and your identity wrapped up in your children? My wife and I have 3 sons. They're young adults, and we love our children. We had an amazing time growing up, parenting them, playing. But is our identity wrapped up in their successes, their grades, their honor roll, their sporting activities, their musical activities? Can we be supportive without having our identity wrapped up in what our kids are doing and how successful they may be or may not be? How about the relationships we're in? Is our identity wrapped up in that person so much that we're neglecting ourselves from personal growth or mental health or the things that we need to work on even within ourselves, our heart, mind, and soul? You know, we're talking about what is your purpose? Are people your purpose? And when I say people, I mean using your gifts and talents to invest in your relationships, using your passions and your skill set to pour into your children, yet understanding that they are they're their own little people. They're going to make their little decisions, and their decisions aren't always going to make us look good as parents, right? If you're a coach, is your identity wrapped up just in I got to get the W, I got to get the win, the wins and the losses, right? The wins and the losses, all right? Because, man, so thankful to have been part of so many amazing seasons, programs, trophies, state championships, all those things. But man, your identity can't be wrapped up in that, because sometimes stuff like that can turn on a dime and you look up and you're going through a losing season or a struggling or a rebuilding season. And it happens to even the best coaches. If you own a business and things are going well and the quarterly reports are great and the trajectory is headed right where we want it, or maybe you're in the middle of a plateau, or maybe it's on a downward slope, wherever you find yourself, don't let your identity be wrapped up in things, materialistic things, money, cars, houses, job titles, things that cause us to get prideful and puffed up. I would encourage you as a champion leader and a champion builder and a person of impact that you and I would make sure, just like Coach Summit said, basketball was my vehicle, but people were my purpose. Every day when we walk out the door, we have an opportunity to impact lives in a positive way. That smile, that hug, that handshake, that high five, that word of encouragement when someone else is feeling down or discouraged. Sometimes it might be holding our tongue and not saying something when we feel like, oh, I just want to give them a piece of my mind. Have you ever been there? If you've been there before, comment below, drop an emoji that matches your emotions when you are around people that frustrate you. We've all been there, right? But if people are our purpose, then we as champions want to internalize and look at the attributes and the qualities, the fruits that we want to produce, that we want coming out of our mouth and our life and the energy we bring. And so Coach Summit, she said, people were my purpose. She told the New York Times that in 2012, and it was a creed that lifted Tennessee from obscurity to a perennial powerhouse, averaging 10,000 fans per game by the year 2000. The NCAA data from 2012 shows only 10% of women's coaches hit 500 wins. Coach Summit doubled that. I'm going to say that again. Only 10% of women's basketball coaches by 2012 hit 500 wins, and Coach Summit doubled that. So I think that when Coach Summit says something, we might want to lean in and listen and say, man, what did she do? She did some things that were right. She did some things that were excellent and extraordinary. So I want to lean in and listen to that kind of wisdom. You see, as leaders, we also recognize excellence. And when we see excellence in people who have a successful business or a successful team or a successful program or a successful marriage or successful children, and again, successful can be a slippery slope of a word because people define success in different ways. Man, I was listening to a social media little excerpt a couple of weeks ago, and a multimillionaire was being interviewed, and he's well past retirement age, and he said, you know what success is? It's not the bank account. It's not the money. He said, if your children and your grandchildren still want to be around you when you are old, he said, that's success. And I think about that. I have amazing parents, amazing father and mother, and I love to talk to them on the phone almost every day, sometimes multiple times per day. So thankful that I was raised in a family like that, a loving family. And maybe that's your story. If you still have your family around, tell them you love them, text them, send them words of encouragement. If you grew up in a home that wasn't the best, wasn't the greatest, what can we learn from that? How can we grow from that? What attributes do we want to retain and keep down the road? That, you know what, even though it wasn't great or perfect, I still learned these things, and now I'm going to teach that to my children and my children's children. And then sometimes we look at things and say, no way, that will not be part of who I am. That will not be part of who we are. We're gonna root that out. I think champion leaders have to look in the mirror and first do inventory, and we got to do the work on ourselves. It's been said that some of the most challenging work we will ever do is between our two ears, right here, because that's our head. That's where all the thoughts come. And if you follow me at all, you know that I talk about this often. Everything goes from our head to our heart to our hands. And so we want to make sure that we're getting great wisdom, great insight, so that what we take in, we can live out and produce the kind of fruit of a champion, right? And so Coach Summit, her cost was sweat and soul, her reward a dynasty of trophies and transformed lives. When Candace Parker, one of her players, wept at her 2016 memorial, she said this, quote, "She made me who I am," end quote. It sealed Summit's truth. Lead with passion, and you don't just win. You build a lineage of impact that echoes your finest hour. Her legacy teaches us that leadership is not just what you demand, it's what you deposit into others. Champions aren't remembered by what they took. Champions are remembered by what they gave. Lead from the heart. That's what we're talking about in my new book. So you're telling me there's a chance. We're on all the socials. Follow us, like us, share, heart, repost, tag, follow, hit all the little buttons, because we want to jump on here and encourage you. There may be someone you know that's going through a tough time. Send this to them. Let them know, hey, check this guy out. I don't know a whole lot about him, but he's a state champion coach in the state of Texas in athletics. But more importantly than anything we've ever done in the athletic arena, we want to build champions in the hearts and lives of people. Because just like Coach Summit used basketball for all those years, she coached basketball, but she said basketball was simply the vehicle. The purpose were the people. And so if you're a leader of any kind, you're a leader. You don't have to lead a business organization of 150 employees. You might have a little academy with just you and your child at the house. You're a leader. You might be a grandparent and you are home alone, but you can call and pick up the phone. You can message, you can FaceTime with your 14 grandchildren that need your wisdom. They need the lessons that you've learned, the mistakes that we've made, and the good times that we have celebrated. Your voice matters. People are our purpose. We want to impact, inspire, influence, and ignite the champion inside of everyone. You know, Princess Diana, who passed away, had a quote. She said, "I don't go by the rule book. I lead from the heart, not the head." Princess Diana was beloved. She was loved very much. So when you think about leadership and coaching styles, what comes to mind? Do you have that rigid leader, that strict disciplinarian that was all rules and absolutely no love, no compassion? Or do you have that coach, that parent, that teacher, that business owner who was too lenient, too loving, with no rules, accountability, structure, and everything was just sloppy? Whatever experience you have had or you have lived out, it's not too late to change. It's not too late to make a decision. And so in the rest of this chapter, I go through a variety of leadership styles, some of which, and they all, on some level, they all are effective. They all have value, okay? But that doesn't mean that they're right for that situation and that particular experience. So I want to encourage you to check this out, because you don't want to miss the wisdom and the lessons that I've learned from the champions in my life. And that's what we are doing. We are going over this series that we call Building Champions, going through a variety of the books and the chapters and the studies to try to make a difference in people's lives, to try to raise up more leaders so that they can go out and make their purpose other people, and then impart that to others. Champion leaders possess the ability to adapt to the needs of their teams and the challenges they face. Some leaders are systematic, some leaders are scripted, some leaders are emotional, some leaders are steady, some leaders are stale and dry, some leaders are charismatic. Every leader is different. We have looked at a variety of leadership styles, strategies, and systems. Whichever style you personally use or prefer, I would encourage you to take a deep look at becoming a transformational leader on some level. This style lends itself to making a significant impact in the lives of others. Whether it's business, relationships, family, coaching, teaching, or leading, be a transformational leader. Every transformational leader leads from the heart. Let them see who you are as a leader and a person. Be real, be authentic, be genuine. I go on to say, lead with passion, lead with skill, lead with precision, lead with wisdom, lead with your mind, lead with your emotions, and pour yourself out. Give your all, lead from the heart. Princess Diana, again, was quoted as saying, "I want to be where the people need me." She went off script. She did things that the common folk, because she was royalty, She was untouchable, but she went to the people. And because she went to the people and led from the heart, the people were drawn to her. Love what you do. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you will know when you find it. That quote was by Steve Jobs. Individuals who are halfway in and halfway out don't usually love what they do. People who are in it for their own advancement and their own agendas usually don't love what they do or the people they do it with. Don't be this kind of leader. There's a lot of those. Quote, I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, the greatest fulfillment of all that he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle, victorious. End quote. That was Coach Vince Lombardi, the legendary Super Bowl championship coach. You know, you keep hearing this theme today, and that is this: lead from the heart, pour yourself out, exhaust yourself in a cause and a purpose that is bigger than yourself. This is what champion leaders do. Leadership in its purest form is where you truly make an impact. When you lead from the heart, you're giving all you have with passion and enthusiasm. If it's worth doing, do it with a fire in your belly. Tell the truth, sing with passion, work with laughter, love with heart, because that's all that matters in the end. That was Chris Christopherson. So tonight, lead from the heart. The people that are in front of you, love them. Be where your feet are. Give them the attention. Hug. Tell them. Say, I love you. I appreciate you. I value you. Your coworkers, encourage them. Tell them their strengths and their gifts. And if you're in a leadership position and you have to periodically point out some missteps, do it like a surgeon with a scalpel. Be very careful on how we do it, because we don't want to be transactional. We want to be transformational. We want to care more. We want to use our gifts and our talents and the wisdom that we've gained to pour into others. That's what champion leaders do. So once again, I'm Stephen Greek. This is from my book, So You're Telling Me There's a Chance, and available on Amazon and all the social platforms. Check us out, like us, follow, share, and repost, and all those things. We want to thank you for tuning in, and we want to make a difference in your life and in the lives of others. Again, we desire to inspire, impact, influence, and ignite the champion inside of everyone. Have a great day. Thank you. Ignite the champion inside of everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.